Before this video starts, if you enjoy this video, there are many more like it already on the channel, with many more like it to come in the future, so subscribe. I'm trying to hit 100,000 subscribers by the end of the year, so I would really appreciate it. I upload 6 days a week on this channel, so if you're looking for some consistent basketball talk, this is the place for it. Also, drop a like on this video. It only takes 1 second and it makes a massive difference. The NBA is finally back. Whether that is a good thing or a bad thing is up for debate, but at the end of the day, I'm glad. Rationally or irrationally, I'm happy about it. I'm not happy that it tanked my last video talking about the future of the Blazers because everyone was watching the games. That was really just poor timing on my part. But if you missed it because you're watching the Clippers or the Nuggets game, please give that one a watch. But speaking of the Nuggets, because of how much people have been depleted of basketball, when we finally got a basketball game, even a scrimmage game that doesn't really count for anything, you already know everybody, including me, was watching. And in the second game that was on Wednesday, we saw the Denver Nuggets run out a starting lineup of Jeremy Grant, Paul Millsap, Bol Bol, Nikola Jokic, and Mason Plumlee. And no. I was not reading that incorrectly. That's actually the lineup that they put out there. The shortest guy in that lineup is 6'8", and there are 2 7-footers in there. But what really stood out from that game in particular was, one, holy shit, the Wizards are pathetic without Bradley Beal, but more importantly, 2, damn, Bol Bol might be a pretty fucking good player. And after people put that thought out there, then it became, shit, the Nuggets might be a pretty fucking good team, especially in a couple years. I mean, Jokic, Murray, Michael Porter Jr., and now Bol Bol on top of that, that is a little scary. So the Nuggets and Bol Bol in particular was the topic of discussion yesterday. The question is, what is really the potential of this team, and how far could they go with Bol among their other players? Let's talk about it. First, it feels appropriate to open this conversation by talking about Bol Bol, as he's the whole reason we're having it in the first place. But real quick, I wanted to say 2 things. 1, thank God the NBA is back. This is the first video in 5 months of daily uploading that I've made that was in relation to a game that happened recently. I cannot tell you the relief I feel with new shit happening for me to talk about on this channel. And 2, I have to say for the rest of this video that every photo of Bol Bol looks awkward, and that's not his fault. Humans are not supposed to be this shape. Bol is one of those people that just doesn't know what to do with his hands, and that really stands out when your arms are 13 feet long. Also, because his name is Bol Bol, every time I typed his name in for this script, Word tried to get me to delete the repeated word. But anyways, Bol Bol is a freak of nature at 7'2" with a 7'9" wingspan. Y'all know that glitch / cheat that happens sometimes in 2K where the players have like 9-foot long arms? Yeah, that's basically what Bol looks like on the court. Look at this dunk right here. Really look at it. That dude's arms are at least 24 feet long. But what makes Bol so exciting is not really his size. Though it is rare, we have seen guys with roughly that kind of frame, but they didn't really amount to much. The problem with those guys in the past was the skill wasn't really there, but in the case of Bol, he is a very good 3-point shooter and a pretty serviceable ball handler. Yeah, the dude who is 7'2" with 33-foot arms can also hit a 3-pointer from like 3 feet behind the line. Off the dribble, by the way. That's some scary potential. But I do want to pump the brakes here real quick. While yes, Bol is very exciting, there is a reason why he fell so late in the draft, and I feel like people should take a chill pill. While Bol might have 52-foot long arms and some solid handle and a very good jump shot, his frame comes with a lot of negatives as well. For one, he is really slow, and I don't expect him to get much faster. His jumper is also slow. Being that skinny means he's prone to be bullied in the paint by other bigs. He also can't really be physically dominant because of that. And while he might be able to make up for that a bit with some length, because those negatives come with him, that length doesn't really end up being a positive. It's really just making up for that negative, which makes his length really just become a neutral. Rather than it being a huge advantage, it's really just making up for a disadvantage. That being said, if he can remain healthy, which is a whole nother question mark, because being that skinny, it can cause a lot of injuries, especially with being that tall as well. But if he can be, there's no reason why Bol cannot be a very good NBA player at the very least. Especially very good offensively, and I haven't even mentioned his defensive potential. He had 6 blocks in this scrimmage game, with him having this specific block, which really highlights how dangerous he could be because of how far he was from Rui here. He managed to block that because his arms are 69 feet long. So Bol should be a stretch big man with a lot of crazy length that has some pretty damn good skill on top of that. So where does he project in the NBA? Well, I'd say he'd probably be between 15 and 20 just because I think there are a lot of physical limitations there, even though there are also a lot of physical advantages. It kind of balances itself out. But the next guy to talk about is Michael Porter Jr., and I would just like to thank Bol for having the game that he did, because now it gives me an excuse to talk about Michael Porter Jr. again. I talked about him back in a 2K talk like 7 years ago towards the start of 2020. Since then, I really haven't found an avenue to talk about him outside of just bullshitting it, but now I have a chance here. And I'm glad I do, because Michael Porter Jr. is one of the 10 most interesting players in the league to me in terms of just discussing them. Because I think Michael Porter Jr. could be a crazy good player. See, I think there are limitations with Bol that make me say his ceiling is probably like the 20th best player in the NBA. I think Bol on paper is better than what Bol actually is. But in the case of Michael Porter Jr., I think this guy genuinely has top 10 player in the league superstar 30-point per game potential. I am very high on MPJ. Here is why. As we all know, Michael Porter Jr. is a tall, athletic forward with a great jump shot who has a knack for getting buckets. In his high school senior season, he averaged 36 points per game. Unfortunately, that did not translate much into college due to injury, and it was because of that injury that he ended up falling to the Denver Nuggets so late into the draft. But with the Nuggets this year, he averaged 7.5 points and 4 rebounds a game with a 59% true shooting percentage, shooting 40% from 3 on 2 attempts per game, doing so in 14 minutes a game over 48 games. Per 36, he averages 19 points and 11 rebounds, and to prove that that's just not per 36 being a bunch of bullshit, in the 6 games where Porter played 25 or more minutes, he averages 17.2 points and 10.2 rebounds, and that's with no games over 30 minutes. They're really more like 26 each of those. So he seems capable of having that level of production already, and it's worth mentioning that in those 6 games with the Nuggets, they are 6-0, those 6 games including a W versus the Milwaukee Bucks. But the thing that makes me so intrigued with Michael Porter Jr. and what makes me think he's going to be a ridiculous scorer is something that I have talked about to a borderline annoying extent on this channel. To some, I'm sure it's more than borderline, and that is off-ball movement. I definitely thought Porter would be a very good scorer in the NBA just by the fact that he's tall, athletic, and has a good jump shot. But when I finally actually got to lay my eyes on him in the NBA playing in Denver's system, he had me convinced that one day he's going to win a scoring title. Because this guy is already a master of off-ball movement. Michael Porter Jr. with his athleticism and length makes for a damn good player to find on the cut. He is a great finisher in the paint because he gets inside the paint quick, finishes strong with his athleticism, and knows how to cut inside at the right time. MPJ shoots 70% at the basket, which is elite, with 60% of his twos being assisted. This is because he scores so often off of the cut, receiving a pass from, you guessed it, Nikola Jokic. Offensively, I cannot think of a better player to pair with Nikola Jokic than a fully realized Michael Porter Jr. Lethal shooter, amazing finisher, and knows how to create offense without the ball in his hand. There is no better pairing out there. I thought Michael would be a bare minimum 20-point per game guy if he had the health before he came into the league, but now with him playing with one of the best playmakers in the league, being a guy that works well with playmakers, he could win a scoring title given the chance and the health. So those are the 2 players that really have people excited for the future of Denver, because of course we already know about Jokic and Murray and what they can be as they've been a 50-win team the last 2 years. I mean, not technically this year, because they were going to be a 50-win team. But add those 2 on top of that, and that can be scary, because I believe Bol can be a perennial all-star top 20 player in the league, and I think Michael Porter Jr. could maybe even be a better player than Nikola Jokic. Just because his scoring potential is so ridiculous, it could outweigh Jokic's scoring plus his playmaking. But now let's take those 2 at their hypothetical peak and really consider how good the Denver Nuggets could be. With a starting lineup of Jamal Murray, Gary Harris, Michael Porter Jr., Bol, and Nikola Jokic, again with both of these guys being as good as they can be, is that not the greatest offensive starting 5 of all time? Like the 2017 Warriors Warriors have the only lineup that even remotely compares on that end. Also, though I think rebounding isn't nearly as valuable as it used to be in the modern NBA where versatility and three-point shooting is so valued, this team would be very good at rebounding, and that could hopefully make up for some of the lack of defense on this team. Michael Porter Jr. is a great rebounder. He averages 10 boards per 36 and is also a great offensive rebounder. Bol and Jokic are good ones as well, so they're going to be the best rebounding team in the league if they're all playing together, and that should slightly make up for the fact that this team probably won't be very good on defense. Bol should be a good defender. Gary Harris, if he sticks around, is a good defender, but after that, they're really weak at the three most important positions defensively. I have some hope that Michael Porter Jr. could be an alright defensive player just because of his size, length, and speed, but he seems pretty bad thus far, and they're bad at the three most important positions to be good at defensively, which is guard, wing, and center. So that is not ideal. But with the level of shooting and scoring ability, the insane mismatch potential, this Nuggets team is going to be scary on offense, and I would imagine the rebounding somewhat makes up for the defense. Like, just imagine a team where a 7'2" demigod with glitched 2K arms is the third best player on the team. That would be pretty damn scary for the rest of the league, and I kind of hope it happens, but I also kind of don't, because I like parity, because this team would probably win multiple championships unless someone else just came out and it was just as ridiculous, but it's also a fun team to see, so I'm kind of conflicted there. But either way, we can just wait and see. Hopefully both of these guys have the health and the development that they need to become the great players they can become, because they're both really fun players to watch, and I'd like to see more from them. That is the end of this video. Please be sure to like and subscribe for more NBA content like this, and cue the outro music.